Hi, everyone.
It's our last session of the first day of DivorceCon.
It's hard to believe that we've made it
Yeah.
so quickly. I mean, literally, it's like we're enjoying every minute, and it seems like it's flown by since like 11:45 when we logged in. So that, in a large part, has to do with you.
Yes.
For you continually show up each session. Terrence, Morgan, like so many of you
Yes.
that we know and love have been here the whole time, and we appreciate it so much. It's really what makes this community so special is how we show up for each other, and that includes how y'all show up for us and for today. And so we are happy to jump into our next session, the last session, and that is with SoberLink. We love SoberLink. They have been, our partners for a long time. I'm going to let Hillary get SoberLink, and and advertising at SoberLink, and so she's going to be joining us. Longtime partner. We've been great friends with them for like the past 2 years. And she's going to share insights. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
And
It's nice to see you not in person, but just, via
Not through
video and not
words.
email. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, exactly. In real life,
Yes.
yeah, but we appreciate being partners with you, and you and Samantha have been the best. And there's just so much to love about SoberLink, and it's so important because it's like a worry that a lot of people have, like the well-being of their child when they're
Yeah.
not in their custody. And of course, if there's a substance abuse concern or something along those lines, you need peace of mind because there's enough in this process that will make you actually feel like you're losing your mind. And we love SoberLink because it's the opposite of that. It's the peace that it brings.
Yes. And we also want to thank you guys for being sponsors for DivorceCon and just for making this possible. We have so many people tuning in to get advice that they might not have access to otherwise. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right? So, maybe somebody here is anticipating that this alcohol will be an issue, and they didn't know about SoberLink. So hopefully this is why we love this community, and we love bringing resources like this and the wonderful work that you're doing to our audience to hopefully just help them in this journey. So we're just so excited for this conversation, and we can't wait to just unpack all the amazing things SoberLink is doing.
Yes, and we love working with you guys too. You have an awesome community and we get to help when we can. So thank you for having us.
Yeah. So, Tian, before we jump into questions, since we have a
Yeah.
little bit of extra time, since you are the final session, how did you when did you start working with SoberLink, and how did you find your way to this work?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been at SoberLink for 8 years now, which is insane to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so originally I wanted to get into social work. And so I wanted to help people that are going through any problems with addiction. And so I found SoberLink and, as someone who I don't have, divorce or addiction problems myself, but it's always been something that I want to help people with. It just felt like a really good fit. And the whole team is just really empathetic and like that is their goal. And that's why we don't do criminal monitoring. We're not trying to do this to put people in jail. It really is to help parents and to help people in addiction. So yeah, it's just been a really great place to work.
Yeah. And I think that leads really well into our first question, which is the assumptions that people might make about SoberLink, that meaning that somebody is being punished, a co-parent is being punished. But can you explain how it works and how it can actually reduce conflict and create more trust between co-parents?
Totally. And I do want to address first that I know why people think it's a punishment. You have to blow into this thing. Usually it's like in your car because you did something wrong. But the reason it's not a punishment is if you think about the alternative, is if two parents, one of them has a problem with alcohol or both of them do, the alternative is one making assumptions and accusing and asking constantly, like, are you drinking around the kids? Are you not? And the other one is defending themselves with no proof, like, I'm not, I swear. So it's not a punishment because it's not adding anything on top. It's really taking that away. And now you don't have to communicate with someone like in that way anymore. You just blow into this thing, it tells you the truth, it sends it to the person, and then you're good to go. So it empowers the parents to not have to worry about that. And then it keeps the children safe at the same time.
Yeah, and we've actually had it. I knew somebody actually that used SoberLink, not necessarily because they had to, but because they were trying to prove sobriety, like ahead of any kind of claim that they were drinking or whatever. And I'd never heard of anybody using it that way, but I'm assuming that happens quite often with SoberLink customers.
All the time. Yeah, all the time. It's mostly because it's not this criminal thing and you're not, you can be court ordered to use it to see your children, but a lot of times it's voluntary and people are like, I'm just going to get ahead of this and I'm going to prove it and have all this documentation. A lot of people are like, I didn't know that I was drinking this much. And a lot of people use it and they're like, now I just don't. And I just use it for myself, to keep me accountable. So it's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
It's like a tool. Like it's not necessarily like the stigma doesn't have to be there. It's a tool.
Right. It's not a personality trait.
Yeah.
It's a tool, and I think, like, to your point, like, I know that for a lot, like, coping through the challenge of a difficult relationship, sometimes that does lead to, an overindulgence in a substance. I mean, my friend Tito and I have had many nights together, because that was easier, if I'm being honest, than confronting whatever the feeling was that I had. And so I think, it can very much creep up on you in a way that you don't realize that, that it's part of your life, and, and not that it's a bad thing to be part of, we're not making a judgment on that, but,
Yeah.
if it interferes with your relationship with your child, and those things that interfere with that, and the quality of time, as our last presenter mentioned, it's something to think about, how we can address it, what tools are available to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And someone just asked, is SoberLink available internationally, like in Europe or in other places, or is it?
Yes, it can be used worldwide, actually. So yeah, we have people using us globally. We mainly do the United States, but yeah, it's you connect it to your phone and it just sends it with Wi-Fi from wherever you are.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we actually we're pinning, I'm in the process of it now, but we're pinning the free co-parenting guide that you guys have put together. So it's good to know that it can, apply to anybody in the US or internationally as well.
Right.
So the link is pinned in the chat, but you can access that and get the free co-parenting guide provided by SoberLink, and it'll explain all about the product and what to expect, and kind of outline a lot of the things that we'll talk about in this conversation.
exactly. Yeah.
So what are some of the, and we kind of touched on some of this, but what are some of the other misconceptions that people have about alcohol monitoring during divorce and custody cases?
Yeah, so it's kind of what we just talked about, right? So first, I want to emphasize it's not for your car. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's the thing. You get a DUI, you blow into it." No, so it's not meant for that, and it's not anything that you wear all the time. So it's not like an
Right.
ankle monitor for probation. So those are the biggest misconceptions.
Yeah.
And with that, a lot of people think that alcohol monitoring or soberlink is meant to like catch you drinking. So like the story you just said about how you have a lot of emotions and you go out and you drink with a friend. Imagine you had a sudden random test happen at that moment and you were like, well, I am drinking, but I'm not with the kids. It doesn't mean I'm a bad
Right.
parent. So it's not that. It's not meant to catch you. It really is. It's a scheduled drinking. It can be only during parenting time. It can be daily. It really depends on the situation. And it's meant to get a pattern and get documentation so that you can make decisions that are best for the child and for your relationship. So yeah, I think the main thing people always think it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna get them in trouble and you're gonna get them catch them drinking, and it's not. It's really not meant to be that. It's not meant to be like this criminal or punishment feeling for the
Right.
parent.
Like, not a
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Which, I think, ideally, right, alleviates a lot of that concern, because, there's a lot of scorekeeping when a relationship ends, and, who's responsible for what. But, like, when one is feeling like, a co-parent's drinking, is could be problematic, but they're not sure if it's like bad enough to bring it up, because it is one of those difficult conversations. What advice would you give, and for someone in that situation?
Yeah, so I actually have So Soberlink did a whole project with a group of judges, and we created what's called the Alcohol Use Disorder Bench Card. So it's a resource that judges use to answer just that. So that's a really good resource too that parents can use. But the gist of it is you shouldn't think of it as I need to figure out if someone has a problem with alcohol and then do something about it. It's you should just use the tool to figure out if they have the problem with alcohol. So if there's just any assumption at all, put them on SoberLink. It doesn't have to be forever, for X amount of days. And then now you'll know, you can see the pattern and there's no questioning. You're not like, oh, were they drinking? Were they not during this time? It's all timestamps. It's all can be used as evidence. And now it's not a question. And now you don't have to, is it bad enough? You can figure out from the data.
Right, because you have facts.
Yep. I was gonna say you can rent the SoberLink device too as well, right? Like, or you don't have to buy the whole system. Like you can do a monthly rental to kind of, and I feel like that kind of like also makes people feel like they're not as locked in or some or
Totally. Yeah. So there's, if you have a true, because we do family law, but we also do in the addiction recovery side. And if you have a parent with a true alcohol addiction, we do recommend doing the whole year, like staying sober and having that, whole pattern behind you. But if again, you're just like, I'm just trying to figure this out. Yeah, we have the rental option. So you can just rent it, you pay the monthly subscription. And a lot of people don't know this, but we also have what's called a family assistance program. So if you don't have the funds, we have options that are much cheaper. So you can actually rent the device for $1 a month, and the subscription fee is much less. It's like more than 50% less. So there are options for people who want to do this, but maybe don't have the funds currently.
And we have lots of questions coming in, but like someone said, what if the person says no? Like again, you think that there's a concern, and yeah, getting the data sounds again like a very reasonable idea, really,
Yeah.
and thought, but someone could still say no. Do you have any like creative suggestions for like making the case? Because
Yeah.
again, some people are want to be oppositional.
Absolutely. So there's like different levels to this. So if you're not trying to get in front of a judge and you're just trying to do this through mediation and through yourselves, the best way is to like talk them through it. And I think you shouldn't frame it again as a punishment. It shouldn't be you have to blow into this thing. It's more like, hey, if you blow into this, I won't ask you anymore. Like it's a way to empower you. It's a way to get me to stop asking you ever. If you just do this for this small amount of time, now we don't have to worry about it anymore. So if it's still at a place where there's a conversation that can be had, those are the words that you can use. And then if it gets to the point where it's just no, you just can't, and it has to be taken to a court, you can ask the judge to order it. And most judges know about SoberLink, so it has to get to that level. Then it's like, okay, well now it's in the court order in order for you to see the children. So
Right,
hopefully it
like
doesn't have
maybe
to get
let's
there.
avoid that.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is such great technology. I'm curious, like, is SoberLink maybe, or is it even possible to like do this for other kinds of substances? Like, or is that
Yeah,
something,
someone did ask that.
just, yeah, like marijuana or whatever? Is that ever, one, is it even scientifically possible? And like, would it be something that, SoberLink might one day do?
Definitely want to. And so we're not in the business of creating these technologies. Like we didn't
Gotcha.
create the ability to, detect alcohol in
Sure.
the device. But as soon as marijuana is available, we definitely, that is definitely our goal. But yeah, that it's hard with the other substances, because you test
Yeah.
again randomly, you go to a lab and they drink at some point, or they did something sometime, but you don't know if they were with the
Right.
kid. Yeah, so that's the beauty of
Yes.
Soberlink. And I hate to say that we don't have that right now, but as soon as that technology is available, we'll be on it.
We can't wait. We're going to be the biggest cheerleaders for you whenever.
Love
Yes. Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because sobriety takes many forms,
It does. Yeah.
So.
Absolutely, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, can you share like a success story with us about how SoberLink helped a family move from conflict towards more peaceful co-parenting? Because that might also be another like good way to kind of get somebody to be more willing to to do it without a court order. I'm assuming to have that actual data
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
actual story.
Yeah. I have two stories I want to share. So we do testimonials with our clients all the time, but we did two very recently, so I'm like remembering them. So the first one, there was a woman and she started drinking a lot with her spouse at the time because of COVID, like a lot of people did. They both were drinking quite heavily.
Hmm.
They ended up separating, and the partner and his new partner decided, let's get full custody of the children and say it's because she drank a lot during COVID. And she felt defeated. She felt like, well, I was drinking a lot, but I'm not anymore. You were drinking a lot. She just felt like,
Right.
what am I going to do now? So her attorney had her get on SoberLink, and it's the stories that we said before. Before they even got to court, she had the record of her not drinking for 6 months, and they just dropped it. So her partner was like, yeah, never mind. I don't have anything more to say about this. So that was a really heartwarming story because she talked about how scared she was of the potential of losing her kids over something that, yeah, like maybe was true. I drank at one
Mhm.
point. So that was a great story. And then on the other side, we just spoke to a dad, the sweetest. Oh my gosh, he was so sweet. He talked about how he had his children. His wife had an actual alcohol use disorder. She was essentially too dangerous to care for the kids, and they separated. But he saw his kids like craving female attention, and he realized they deserve a relationship with their mom. So he implemented SoberLink, and had her test every day so that she could prove that she was being safe enough to see the children. So on both sides, like if you don't have a problem, show that you don't. And if you do, like it will help you manage the problem. If the parents are still caring enough to want both parents in their kids' life, like it helps on both sides of the
Yeah,
equation.
it's like taking that proactive approach as opposed to the
Mhm.
reactive approach, and it's like reframing it as such. And again, I feel like
Exactly.
that's a theme throughout a lot of things that we talk about through divorce, but it's just, yeah,
Yeah.
an important tool.
Right. And it also shows like the growth mindset. I think the other thing I love about SoberLink and like its use as a tool is that, as you mentioned, like even what habits you had whenever you were in the relationship, right? Like that may be someone's like, they think that's still a real life memory, that's happening now, even though they don't live together. So they don't really have any basis for knowing what's happening anymore. But our minds go back to like kind of the muscle memory, like what we remember was happening. And that may or may not be true. So like, a tool like Silverlink helps you identify like what is true in that moment as opposed to maybe what you thought was happening,
Hmm.
in the past, which allows everybody to move forward, I think, in new ways and new identities and all of the things that help us get through this life transition by imagining a different future.
Exactly. And another part of that too is a lot of people don't think about, if you don't have that mindset of wanting to move forward and grow, a lot of times you end up asking your kids like, hey, did you notice dad or mom was
Mhm.
drinking?
Oh yeah,
So now they get involved in, trying to figure that out. And nobody wants to do that to their kids. So yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's another really good point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, for our final question is, what do you wish every parent who's going through a divorce knew about protecting their kids when substance abuse is part of the picture?
So I thought a lot about this answer because I want to be transparent. I don't have kids and I've never gone through a divorce. So it's like, what I don't want to say something to somebody where it's like I can't imagine how hard it is for somebody going through that. What I can say is everybody that works at SoberLink, we're, like I said, like so empathetic, and we hear these stories and they're all so difficult to go through. So I took actually a divorce coaching course just so I can be a little bit more understanding, and the main thing I took from that course and from being at SoberLink is, as much as there's all these emotions and difficult things going on, when it comes to your child's safety, it really has to be taken out, and you have to use something that's going to tell you the facts, right? So I think at the end of the day, that's what I would love to leave people with. It's like I don't feel like I have the right to say, hey, take your emotion out of it. Like what can I'm not allowed to say that, but that really is what it is. Because when you do, then you get the facts, and like you said, you move on and you make sure that your children are safe.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Well, thank you, Tian. We just, again, we love the partnership between you and SoberLink, or you and SoberLink, us and SoberLink. Also you and
Yeah.
SoberLink too. But, it is something that we really believe in because health and wellness, are at the center, I think, again, of any life transition. But this human experience, and it's one of the very common threads that we see time in and time out in our support groups, and as we talk to people in comments and in DMs. And so being able to, suggest a tool as solid and respectable as SoberLink makes our experience in the community so much better. So thank you for giving us that opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for working with us. And yeah, I'm sure it's so important to have community when you're going through such a hard time. And,
Yeah.
we never want to impose like, hey, use Soberlink, but anytime we can have a natural conversation and help somebody through people like you, it's great. So thank you for having us.
Yeah, and just the education of it, like, because like we said at the beginning, you don't know what you don't know sometimes. So maybe you didn't even know this was a tool that could, if you don't have a court order, but you still have a concern, like you can still use this tool. Like I think that that's a really important piece to take away as well, is that, there are things out there that, and that's like our goal is to kind of bring these resources that you might not hear about or might not know about until they become an issue, and then it's
Yeah.
harder to Google something when you don't really even know what you're Googling, right?
Right.
What do
And
I
also
say?
for friends and family. I mean, we also really like in our audience, we have lots of like friends of divorce like you, Tian, like, because you haven't gone through it, or you don't have kids, like you still have an empathetic heart towards this. And that we found is like really what matters deeply, because the people that care about someone who's going through this, or, you live long enough, someone who's going through it. And when they pick up this kind of information and are aware that a
Hmm.
tool like this exists, that could be a game changer for someone else. Like it starts with one person and then sort of spreads. And so, we're grateful in that way too, that the information is something someone else could pick up and use for a
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah, and can you share, just before we hop off, can you share where people can find you? And I
Yeah.
do have the link pinned to the chat. It's soberlink.com/sincerely, and you'll get a free guide all about what SoberLink has to offer and how you can incorporate that into your parenting plans. It's free for Sincerely Divorced community members, and the link is in the chat, and I will let you take over as to where else people can find you.
Of course. Yeah. So like she just said, soberlink.com/today, that's a great place. You can just visit soberlink.com if you want to purchase. Everything is done online. It's from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to go to a lab and, do all the blood work or anything like that. Everything is online. And if anyone has specific questions from your audience and they want to email me directly, they can email the marketing team at mr@soberlink.com, and I'd be happy to help and, individually answer any questions as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much. We love partnering with you all, and we love the collaboration that we have going. And thank you everybody for tuning in and learning more about SoberLink, and also for attending the first day of DivorceCon. This is the final session for the day, so it's a great way to wrap up.
Yeah, thank you for helping us end on such a bright note and preparation for tomorrow. Yeah. All
Amazing.
right,
Thank you.
Tian. I look forward to
Yes.
seeing your
Bye.
beautiful
Talk to you
face
soon.
again. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.